What you just watched is the intro cinematic for Tenchu Wrath of Heaven, and there's a reason I let it play out completely, and the main reason is because I love that intro and I want an easily accessible version of it that I can watch and listen to without having to search for it on YouTube. And the other reason is because I know that my sisters, who I played Tenchu Wrath of Heaven with, probably haven't seen that in a while, and I know it'll bring back good memories of our childhood, because it certainly does for me. Now, this video is going to be a very personal one for me because I'm going to talk about myself and my childhood. I don't have any particular goal in mind when making this, other than I simply want to talk about a game that I love. Whether anyone watches this at all, and whether anyone watching this gets anything out of it, is besides the point. I'm making this for me. Video games are an integral part of my life. The oldest memory I have is of this game. I vividly remember watching my brother play this and being absolutely terrified by one of the missions in this game. I must have been 2 or 3 years old. Now, Tenchu isn't a horror game by any means, but there are missions that have yokai in them, basically demons. And now I find them funny, but as a child, they're these, childlike things, and they're shambling around and making weird noises, and you're supposed to sneak by them. And this mission is also filled with other things like zombies and floating heads. In fact, there's one particular section of this mission that I so vividly remember that when I replayed Tenchu Wrath of Heaven a while ago and came across it, I instantly recognized it. It's this very tight corridor that's colored red with blood, and you need to jump down into a pit, and there's water, so you have to move slowly or the yokai will hear you, and you need to go through this pit to get to the other side and progress to the end of the mission. I know my sisters will have an idea of what I'm talking about, even though I'm not describing it well, and they haven't seen this game and haven't been able to play it for maybe somewhere around 20 years. This game had a massive impact on me. I even used to run around like the guy in the intro as a kid. Thank God taking videos and pictures wasn't really common back then, at least with my family. Tenchu Wrath of Heaven is why I love stealth games, and also it's affected my taste in games just in general. I've played Splinter Cell, Assassin's Creed, Thief, Dishonored, and a bunch of other stealth games, but for me they always failed to scratch the same itch, because whenever you perform a stealth kill in Tenchu, the camera changes and it becomes very cinematic while you perform a very cool assassination. And they change depending on the character you're playing and also from what direction you're approaching the enemy. The closest thing I can readily compare Tenchu's stealth kills to is the sneak attacks in Nioh 2. And another example, funnily enough, is the assassinations in Halo Reach, because whenever you perform an assassination in Reach, the camera changes to third person, and you do a sick animation, and it feels amazing. Halo Reach is one of my favorite Halos, not just because of the story, but also because it introduced assassinations into Halo, and they were incredibly badass. Any game that has Tenchu-style executions is in my good graces, even if I hate everything else about it, like Call of Duty. I could hate the maps, the perks, the weapons, and everything that people are doing and using, camping, but that shit doesn't matter as long as you give me a knife and I can perform assassinations, especially if they're really cinematic. It's heartbreaking when you die or someone steals your kill while you're doing one though, but that just kind of comes with the territory. Also, something that saddens me to no end is the fact that Tenchu Z for Xbox 360 never received backwards compatibility support. It's one of the only games I was desperately hoping to be able to play on Xbox One, and it's forever trapped on the 360. An absolute travesty. Moving back to Tenchu Wrath of Heaven though, another consequence of it being my first video game and also earliest memory is that I can't play games with pixelated graphics, and also I can't play most 2D games. Tenchu Wrath of Heaven is my baseline when it comes to what I'll accept when it comes to graphics and controls. I'm able to play old games and look past the graphics, but my limit is anything that looks much worse than this, and I know I've missed out on very good games because of this, but I can just watch other people play them and have fun, which if I played them, I myself wouldn't have fun. So To me, being able to watch someone have fun with these old games is good enough. Tenchu Wrath of Heaven is a very special game to me, and while it wouldn't be hard to criticize it for a plethora of reasons, like the clunky controls, simple enemy AI, and bad voice acting, I can look past all that because what really matters is the memories I made with family. And pretty much every good memory I have with family, video games are involved in some way, whether it's watching a simply play a single player game or fighting each other in multiplayer. So, anyways, that's pretty much all I wanted to say.